Hello, you are welcome to today's Monday Live with Choma Okoli, and I am happy to have you here with me. All right, so how are you doing? I hope you are doing well. Okay, so I've had countless times friends have had to ask me, or some parents will tell you that they don't want to do exclusive breastfeeding because they don't want the fight that comes with when you finally get to 6 months and the child is not eating because the child was exclusive breastfed. And so technically these parents are saying that exclusively breastfeeding a child for 6 months, for the first 6 months of the child's life, is a cause for failure of such children to eat in after conclusion of exclusive breastfeeding. Technically, um, that's not true. Yes, that's not true. You simply do not know what to do to navigate this. And in this video, I'm going to teach you, I'm going to show you things you need to put into place or ways to navigate this so that you are not in that space where you're feeling that your child is not eating because you did exclusive breastfeeding. Okay. I have three children. Yes. And all three of them were exclusive breastfed, including my less than 1 year old. So he's really not on the spectrum of children that eats. My daughter came ready to eat, like from the very first day she was delivered. Baby girl was ready to eat. Unlike my first son, who took a while, like 8 to 12 hours before he, and even after, even af- for the first 1 month after he was born, he wasn't really into sucking and all of that and all. So we had to express and spoon feed for a while, and but that wasn't the case for my daughter. 2 hours after she was born, baby girl was ready to suck. My third child is not in either of those spectrum, either like the elder brother or like the elder sister. So he's different. So what I'm teaching you here is beyond theoretics. There are things I've put into place. All three of them, despite being on the different spectrum, they all eat. Right? They eat very well. All right. So I'm going to show you ways to navigate this and have your child eat well. Um, whether the child was exclusive breastfed or not. Because another thing is, even babies who were not exclusive breastfed don't really, not the fact that you started giving your child um, baby milk or any other food you want to give before the child gets to 6 months does not mean that that child will eat well. Okay, does not mean that that is not like a fail-proof strategy that once you start giving your child other foods at 4 months or at 3 months, you're sure that that child will not refuse to eat food. So I want us to get these facts right so that the other things I'm going to mention would have a basis to rest on. So if you are choosing to exclusive breastfeed, you're welcome. That's the best thing you can do for your child, right? That's the best meal you can give your child for the first 6 months of his or her existence. And research has proven that babies who are exclusive breastfed are not are not susceptible to type 2 diabetes. Yes, because in our environment, most mothers would sweeten their baby's food with sugar or with any other sweetener, whether dates, sugar, or whatever thing you want to sweeten it with. Of course, babies less than 2 years should not take honey. Yeah, babies less than 2 years should not take honey. Either 2 years or 1 year. I can't remember exactly, but honey shouldn't be one of the things you're using to sweeten your baby's food in the first 1 year at least. And then I was saying that babies who are exclusive breastfeed are not at risk for type 2 diabetes as babies who were exclusive breastfed. And I was saying that part of the reason for that could be that in our environment, parents sweeten baby food, especially pap or Tom Brown, or whichever one it is you're giving your child. Most parents add sugar to make it sweet so that the baby would want to eat it. And well, that's not your baby is not taking pap or Tom Brown or whatever semi-solid food you're giving the child because of sugar. You need to get that right. Your baby is not taking it because there is sugar to make it sweet. If you doubt that, test breast milk and tell me if breast milk is sweet. But if a baby can comfortably take breast milk for as long as 2 years. Why? So why is the baby taking the breast milk even though it's not as sweet as your regular tea in our Nigerian parlance, or um, it's not as sweet as pap with sugar or date added to it. So it's not so and those artificial sweetening and those sweeteners that we add to the pap and all of that trigger um, insulin function in the baby's body much more than is necessary. And so you start overworking our beautiful insulin, our gentle insulin, very early with the sweeteners that we add. Well, this class is not about sweeteners, but I just needed us to have this basic information. So the dietitian's advice is that you should not sweeten your baby's food until after 2 years. It's not a popular opinion. Hey, I know that. I know that. In fact, I was guilty of this in my first two children. I was guilty of it. So I'm not teaching you from the place of perfection. I was guilty of this for my first two children. And we've had to cut down on a lot. We've had to put in place a family feeding culture that, somehow reduce would reduce the trigger on insulin. All right. Now, in case you're hearing family feeding culture and it's sounding strange to you, well, maybe you should enroll for the Nutrition in Early Years Parent course, which was a 3 days course that um, we organized in this month of June, and um, that class is and it's going to be an eye opener for you, right? Sitting for that class is going to open your eyes to a lot of things you weren't aware of, or you haven't been putting into perspective and consideration with regards to feeding your children. Like I will always say, a child will eat every day. That's a fact, right? Even even in the face of war, children will always eat. But thank God that you listening to this clip now, you're not in a war zone, or you're not wherever you are. There isn't a war, there isn't war going on, right? So you can actually choose. You're in that space where you can choose what to give your child. The question is, are you choosing what is safe for that child? Are you choosing what is healthy for that child? If you take a look at the definition of nutrition, the definition of diet, you understand that diet is not just what we are eating now. Diet is an accumulation of the things we eat over a period of time. And so the diet for your child is not just what you're giving your child now. It's an accumulation of everything you've been giving your child from the very first day your child was born up to this moment that we are speaking. So if you're to analyze your child's diet, what would you be? Let the healthy rating scale be 1 to 10. How would you rate your child's feeding? I leave that to you, right? If you want to share, you can share in the comment section. All right. So you're welcome again, and let's go right into our conversation. Now, there are three things I'd like to point out about feeding styles. Feeding styles can be responsive, it could be too indulgent, it could be unresponsive. Now, in the first 6 months, right? let me say in the first 1 year, you are to feed your child on demand. On demand means if the child is hungry now, especially in the first 6 months. You hear a lot of mothers saying, breast milk doesn't fuel my child any longer. We just finish feeding now, and the next minute the child is crying again for food for another feeding, and all of that, and it's disturbing me, and it's making me to be this, it's making me all of to be weak, and all of that, and all of that. Um, First things first, you are to breastfeed, you are to feed your child on demand. So once the child gives you the signal that, hey, mommy, I am hungry, or hey, daddy, or hey, whoever is babysitting with that child at that moment, if the mother is not around, once that child gives that signal, hey, I'm hungry, please give that child food. Give that child food. Yes. So feeding a child on demand and feeding that child with warmth makes you a responsive feeder, makes you a responsive mother or a responsive caregiver. While I am that parent coach that advocates teaching self-regulation, teaching curbing impulse or impulsivity in children with food, I also am that parent coach that will tell you that in the first 1 year, please give that child food on demand. A lot is happening in that child's life in 1 year. So 1 year, allow the child to be a child, but in the sense that you feed that child what is healthy. In the sense that you feed that child what is healthy. So you want to be okay. I was talking about responsive, being a responsive feeder and what it entails. Then too indulge being a too indulgent feeder is that moment when whatever the child wants to eat, you give the child. So your child is still less than 6 months, but you're eating soup and gari, and the child is, opening the mouth and wanting to enter the soup, and you're like, okay, you want to eat, and then you start feeding the child, and you say the child wanted to eat it. Hello, what do you mean the child wanted to eat it? So if the child wants to take the drugs that probably you're taking drugs and you're carrying your child, you and the child wants to take the drug, you should give the child the drug. By the way, you shouldn't take your drugs in front of your children. It's part of the drug conversations you should have with your children. But I hope you're having drug conversation with your children. And permit me to say this, right? We are in an era where no parent should afford not to be in a parenting academy. Yes, we are in that era where no parent should not be able to afford being in a parenting academy. There are lots of them. Identify one that serves your need and belong there, especially one that you trust the system, you trust the person that is organizing it, and at least you know that this person is going to teach me what is right and not mislead me and my family. So, because every parenting academy has its own curriculum, its own schedule, things that they are trying to achieve, things they are trying to teach people who are in that system. All right. So in the Royalty Conclave, which is a community of parents with children within the ages of 0 to 6, which I run, next month being July, that's starting tomorrow, is a month we are teaching boundaries, and there is a whole lot of things around it. There is a book for the month that we're going to read and review in the group. There are 4 webinars, about 3 to 4 webinars that we're going to hold exclusive for people in the group. And 2 of these webinars I can't wait to have them with the parents in there. One is mind management, the other one is time management. If you are a parent to young children, I'm sure you're battling with time. I'm sure you I know how much things I put into place. I know the habits that I allow to fly to allow me do what I'm doing and still be a mother of 3 children and a wife and a daughter to my parents and all of that, and a sibling to a sister to my siblings, what have you. So time management is something that every parent need to know and internalize so that we can teach our own children. Okay. So, but these things I mentioned, they are not even things that I will talk about on social media. They're not things that I will advertise. It's exclusively for parents in the royalty couple. So, if you're listening to me right now and you are not in any parenting academy, right? Or you are in a place where you feel the curriculum is not for your children at the stage where you are in, you're welcome to the Royalty Conclave. It's for specifically children within the ages of 0 to 6. And there's a reason why we are specializing here. There is a reason why we are dwelling on children within the ages of 0 to 6. Okay, so I was talking about drugs, drug conversation. So you want to be in a system where things that will matter in the lives of your children are being discussed often. Okay. So I hope you find yourself in one. And the Reality Conclave is going on, program is going on now. We're going to open up the next cohort to start on the 4th of September. So you want to be a part of us. I'm going to drop the details in the comment section after this video so that you can follow up and book your slots. Okay, so too indulgent is that parent who gives the child anything they want simply because the child is showing interest. So you're sipping alcohol, be it palm wine, be it mustard or whatever, and the child makes moves of interest, and then you say he or she wants to drink. And then you give the child. You're being too indulgent. Your feeding style is being too indulgent, and you should stop that. You should stop that. Yeah, I know most of us were given alcohol growing up, and so we see as children, and we even probably when we were young, we saw our parents still giving our very tiny siblings who were very young or very young children alcohol, and they will say it will make the child not to have colic, it will make the child's intestine to be open so that food can pass through, or it will open up the child's brain so that the child will understand. Throw those things away. Our parents weren't trying to lie. They were speaking from what they too saw. But I am telling you right now, on my authority as a parents coach and as a nurse, that those things are not true. Please don't give your child alcohol. Don't. Don't. And if you're taking alcohol yourself, well, that's a conversation for another day. Let's not be distracted by that. Hmm? But if you're taking alcohol, chances are that your children will take alcohol too. If you like, label it that you are a social drinker. Social drinker or not social drinker, you take alcohol and you take alcohol. The day your child will decide to take alcohol may not be the day. Maybe the day they will take it and things will go wrong. I'm not trying to scare you, but being a parent is a whole lot. There are lots of things you need to throw away, things you were doing and you didn't really understand why they were there. Or there is even no strong why as to why you should continue doing them. Throw them away. Yes, I said so. You'll be fine. Both you and your children will be fine. So that's for too indulgent. Then the next one is unresponsive. Unresponsive is you give the child food when you want to. You give the child food when it is convenient. You give the child food when the child has cried and cried. You're like, beg you, give me the child. Are we talking about a child that is 1 year or even less? What exactly is your excuse? You're busy, except you're sick. And if you're sick, there should be another adult taking care of that child. You cannot be sick trying to recover and you're still the one looking after an infant. Something is wrong. And maybe you should call for help if you don't have anyone willingly helping you. But you are eroding the trust quotient or the trust capability of that child. The child cannot trust the people in his or her immediate environment in the first 1 year. That child will struggle with trusting anybody for life. Yeah. That child will struggle with trusting anybody for life. So you really want to take these things we're talking about very serious. Very, very serious. So please do not be a too indulgent parent. Do not be an unresponsive parent in the area of feeding. Okay, so let's come down to feeding. What exactly is feeding? Now, feeding reflect the interaction that take place between the caregiver and the infant. Feeding represents the interaction between a caregiver and the infant during meal times or when the child is eating. So you're breastfeeding your child and you're cursing somebody, you're yelling at the top of your voice, you're even disrupting the baby's feeding. You're Come on, they are all part of what the child is taking in. They're all part of the impression the child is making about food and eating. They are significant. They are important. Yeah. And you should know that, right? Yes, you should know. Then the next one is eating. Eating reflects the infant's autonomous handling of food. Example, reaching for food, opening the mouth, holding your breast, placing the hand on your breast while you breastfeed. Those are, that is, they are, the interplay of these things is eating. A child's autonomous handling of food. So in unresponsive feeding, you're probably controlling the child. You're probably forcing the child to eat. You're probably not providing a relaxed environment for the child to eat. So your child is really not eating. I don't have a name for what you're doing with your child. Your child is not eating. Okay, so um, I thought we needed to know all of these things before we dive right into it. Okay, so there are two things I'd like us to know before I mention the five methods or the five ways to overcome feeding difficulties after exclusive breastfeeding. Now, a child would eat based on instincts. So if you listen to our conversation, the YouTube, what the video on thumb sucking, if you didn't watch it, you want to go and take a look at that video. If you take a look at the video we did on thumb sucking, you hear where I say that thumb sucking is a child starts sucking the thumb in utero at 29 weeks. So when the child comes out and you see the child putting the thumb or any of the fingers inside the mouth, it didn't start then that the child was born. It started way back. Okay. So there are instincts. Some of these things, the child wanting to eat comes as an instinct and as a learned behavior. So at the end of 6 months, and you're introducing new food, the child would see you feed and would want to eat as an instinct first. And then the child would want to eat as a learned behavior. He's seen you or the other members of the family putting stuff inside the mouth, moving the mouth in a certain way. The child is looking at you, looking at other people, taking in the lessons, and some movements taking on in the brain and saying, okay, so if something goes into your mouth, you do it somehow, then you do it somehow, maybe you swallow it and then you open your mouth again. Another one is food. The child may not have words for those things, but the information is being processed in the brain and is being stored, and the child now knows, okay, so when I see them doing that, I can do like I want to fall inside the plate, or when they are putting the food inside the mouth, I'll be looking at the person. I can also open my mouth and see if they give me some, and all of that and all of that. So even before you get to 6 months, expose your child to this. Sometimes it happens unconsciously. The child is already with you when you eat and all of that. But avail the child the opportunity to also see other people eat. And make those moves of and what have you. So before the child gets to 6 months, you can wash your hands, dip it in the food you're eating or dip it in the soup you're eating, and then just drop it on the child's tongue. That's all. I didn't say you should feed your child soup before the child gets it. I say just put your finger. It could be once. It could be once or at most twice. What are you doing? You're getting the child's taste buds used to something else other than breast milk. When you're taking pap that is not, you could do that before you add your sugar. If you add sugar in your pap, put your hand, dip it in the child's mouth, in the child's tongue, The first time that this is done, you see the child, kind of, what is this? What is this? As if the child is scanning the brain for information. Have we tested this before? What's this like? Oh, I don't know what this is. Okay, maybe we've eaten this when we're still in the stomach, you're still in the womb. Can we make connections with this? And all of that. And all of that. Okay, so you want to provide that experience for your child. Now let's get into the steps proper. Number one thing is introduce soft, warm, semi-solid foods first. So start with soft, warm, semi-solid foods. So soft is, if you could give boiled yam, maybe yam porridge, mash it, mash it, chop it on the child's mouth, on the child's tongue, and allow it. This is one option. You can choose to blend, but if you're just starting out, like your child just concluded exclusive breastfeeding, you're starting immediately, I'd advise that you start with one thing first. Okay, that's the second step. So let me not get there first. Let's finish with the first one. So if you're giving soup, please be sure that it is not a peppery soup. Not because pepper is bad, but because it's a child that is just coming from exclusive breastfeeding. There is no pepper in there is no peppery breast milk. So save the child the peppery foods when they get used to the non-peppery one, from simple to complex, right? That's the rule of growth and development here. So if you're starting with soup, make sure the soup is not peppery, and make sure it's very simple soup, like something like a soup without too many condiments and too many local condiments. Or you may not even start with soup. Leave soup like 8 months, 9 months agenda, right? You can start with simple things like pap. If you're starting with pap, please start with one ingredient in the pap. What I mean by one ingredient in the pap is, like, currently the pap I give my 8 months old is corn, millet, dawa, tiger nuts, all grounded together and processed. Okay. But before we got to that, we did corn alone for a while. Do you know why? Some children react to these dawa and joro, and you won't know if you don't look out for it. For instance, my first son reacted to dawa. You give him dawa, he vomits. You give him dawa, the moment you're finishing the food, he's vomiting it out. It's not because he overfed. No, it wasn't that he overfed. And because I've been doing introducing one meal at a time, I knew this vomiting after eating started the moment we started giving corn pap mixed with dawa. So I stopped giving him that particular pap and got pap with just corn. And the young man was fine. So at some point, I started adding commercial milk, commercial baby milk, of course, and the same thing will happen. Even with corn pap, you put the milk in his pap, and he will vomit it. You put the milk in his pap, he will vomit it. Make the milk alone, give him, he will vomit it. So I knew the moment I took away the milk and substituted it with breast milk, we're fine. So you want to introduce one meal at a time and observe the baby's reaction to it. Reaction with vomiting, reaction with maybe rashes on the skin, reactions with the baby crying excessively, reaction with the baby, reaction with the toileting and all of that and all of that. You want to keep an eye on those things. You want to keep an eye on those things. All right. So the next step is offer one meal per time and allow child to get used to it before adding another per time. I know that at the end of 6 months, we are like, I've completed my exclusive breastfeeding. Now I can go anywhere without having to express breast milk and all of that. Sorry to disappoint you. You still have to express, my dear. Sorry. but you still need to express, right? Yes. Because I'll give you an instance. We usually start our baby. Okay, I've mentioned that I start with corn pap first before adding any other thing. You take it for a while, get used to it, and then move to the next one, which is like which is avocado, mashed avocado, very soft, and then with breast milk. And so we'll eat that one for like 3 days before I introduce another thing, like maybe mashed egg yolk with breast milk. We establish that one. Then we move to blended rice with carrots, boiled, and breast milk in that order, so that I will know that my child eats pap fortified with breast milk, eats avocado fortified with breast milk, eats egg yolk fortified with breast milk. Then in that order, until you now get to the point where you can get very tiny swallow, put it in the soup and drop it in baby's mouth, and baby is able to swallow it. So this, and then the third one is make meals as close to breast milk as possible. This is what I mean. Breast milk is not hot, not cold. It's warm. Breast milk is warm. So if you're giving any other food, make sure the food you're giving is warm, not cold, not hot, warm. That is one point of making the food as close to breast milk as possible. Number 2 points in making the food as close to breast milk as possible is let it be semi-solid. Let it be liquid at first point. Let it be liquid. And then as the child is getting to 8 months, you can increase the consistency a bit, the thickness, just a very little bit, so that the child can swallow it easily. Then another point in making it as close to breast milk as possible is making sure that the food is easily available. Easily available. Even if you're going to have to express and go out and maybe put in the fridge or stuff like that, let there be hot water in a flask ready, so that once it's time for the baby to feed, you bring it out from the fridge, maybe run hot water over the feeding bottle if it was kept in the fridge. Run hot water over it so that it will be warm and not be cold. Okay, so those are the 3 points you need to note on making the food as close to breast milk as is possible. Then the fourth one is make breast milk your liquid of choice. Make breast milk your liquid of choice. Why are you looking for milk to buy when you carry milk about? Well, you must not be me, yes, but then um 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 baby milk hasn't found its way to my house since 2021. After the first time I bought for my first son and he showed the reaction he showed, that was the end. My daughter never tested baby milk. My second son hasn't tested, isn't going to test. Actually, we don't do packaged food in my house. All of those packaged ones, you put hot water or you put cold water, you do this, you add milk, you add the other one. We don't do it in my house. No, we don't do packaged food. We produce or we cook the things we eat. Mm. So that's our feeding culture, and we are unapologetic about it. Yes. So, but if you do baby milk, it's okay. One thing you can do is to make breast milk your milk of choice. If you feed well, if you eat healthy food as a child, as a mother, because by saying if you feed well now, people will think it's eating 3 or 4 times in a day as a breastfeeding mother. No, that's not what I'm talking about. If you eat healthy meals, your breast milk is liquid gold. Yes, it is liquid gold. So you want to give it to your child in different ways, through direct breastfeeding, through using it in making their foods semi-solid and semi-liquid and all of that, semi-solid rather, using it as a liquid of choice. You're infusing not just antibodies, you are also making the child more likely to eat the food, because the child would still get the taste of breast milk which he or she has gotten used to in the past 6 months. All right. So using sometimes when I tell people that I use breast milk as my as for fortifying my baby's food, and they be like, it's not sweet. It's not sweet. It's not. You're not supposed to. It's not supposed to be sweet to you. Okay, what's the one that you scoop the spoon and you drop on your tongue before you give the child, because according to you the food is too sweet for the baby to eat alone. You see your life. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make is that you can make breast milk your liquid of choice. Yeah. Okay. And then the last point is breastfeed, 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 breastfeed. It is called complementary feeding. You're complementing you're placing other food on top of the breast milk that you've been giving. Not giving breast milk on top of the other foods. I need us to get this. You're complementing other foods on the breast milk that the child has been given. So the point that your child has reached 6 months and you've concluded exclusive breastfeeding does not mean you should now give less breast milk. Just when the child demands for it, still give breast milk. Even if the child is still trying to get used to the other foods and you're still trying to put the other steps into place, please still breastfeed that child. Still breastfeed that child. Breast milk is not enough for the baby after 6 months, but it doesn't mean the baby should take less breast milk, especially if you're available. Especially if you can express and make it available. In fact, you should express if you're not going to be there. Right? So this is where we bring it to an end. And I hope that with these strategies I've mentioned, you'll be able to come to an end of your baby not eating well. And hey, that child you're seeing, and you like how plumpy and how fresh and healthy looking the child is, another person's child. Can you learn to feed the child you have? Yes. Learn to feed and nurture the child you have. You will never have my own child. I will never have your own child. You have yours, I have mine. Let's learn to feed the child that we have. Stop coveting another person's child. And maybe when you're now feeding your own child, you're like, can't you see how the other child is plumpy, eats well, but you will not eat well. Yeah, 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 yeah. Like you're talking to your mate. Even if you're talking to your mate, that's not a good way to talk to somebody now. And you're talking to a child. Remember what I said about eating? It's an interplay of your interaction. No, that was feeding. It's an interplay of your interaction with the child and every other thing that is going on. And for eating, the child has to have some level of autonomy in it. So can you learn to feed the child you have? Stop coveting another person's child. Those of you that are always looking for weight gain food, weight gain food. Because as you're getting the weight gain food, make sure the weight gain food is healthy. Remember what I said about diet? Diet is not just what you're giving your child now. It's an accumulation of everything you've been giving your child. And it's building some things in your child's mind, in your child's brain, in your child's body, in your child's hormone, in your child's physiological processes. And so when we analyze all of these things I've mentioned, I hope it to be on the positive and not be on the negative because of trends you fail to filter. Well, let me stop here. If this is your first time of watching us here on the Espana Parent Academy YouTube channel, you're welcome. Please do well to subscribe. We bring you not popular opinions, but things that you can put into place to lay the solid foundations for your children within the ages of 0 to 6 years. And there's no other place you can get it. No, not that place. Our curriculum is encompassing so that by the time you're done, your child is getting to 6 years and beyond. You'll be like, I've done a good job. You know how St. Paul told Timothy, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I am ready for my life to be poured like a sacrifice. Now, your child's life is going to be poured as a sacrifice after 6 years. But I'm saying that at 6 years, at least you know that you haven't just been everywhere and nowhere in your child's life. You've laid important foundations. And this is where we are bringing it to an end. Do not forget to subscribe, um, share the good news you've heard here. Share the good news and see you next week, Monday. All right, do have an amazing, 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 amazing week and month starting tomorrow ahead. All right. Once again, I am Choma Okoli and I'm the founder of Expectant Parent Academy. So for more details on the Nutrition in Early Years Parent course, I'm going to drop a link on the comment section. Do well to um, um, read it and do well to reach out and sit in with this 3 days course and grab what you can grab and start running with it. All right. Do have an amazing day.